All right, everyone, February already, you know what that means.
New year, new us.
Exactly. It's 2025. We're all thinking about goals, how to level up. And honestly, what better way to do that than to make sure our careers are future-proof?
Especially in a field like DevOps. I mean,
Right? It's constantly changing.
always something new to learn.
So that's what this deep dive is all about. We're going to jump ahead to 2030 using this fantastic article I found about the future of DevOps.
Oh, yeah, this one. I read that one, too.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't hold back.
No, it really doesn't. We're talking AI completely changing how we work the cloud, becoming like this crazy multi-dimensional puzzle.
And security. Seriously, security is not optional anymore.
It's not. So let's break all of this down.
Yeah.
And I think the best place to start is with AI.
Okay.
Because this article really boldly claims that AI is coming for our jobs.
Running for our jobs.
But before we all panic and start, updating our resumes to robot overlord wrangler, let's try to understand what this actually means.
Yeah, should we really be worried? I mean,
Right, is it like Terminator?
I don't think it's quite that dramatic, but
Okay, good.
but there are some big changes coming.
Yeah.
And the article really digs into this concept of AIOps,
AIOps.
which is essentially AI taking over a lot of the work in IT operations. So just imagine...
Like AI just doing everything.
Well, not everything, but think about it like AI catching problems before they even become problems, or predicting what your infrastructure needs, like before you even realize it needs it.
So instead of spending all day putting out fires, we're just sipping coffee while AI keeps everything running.
Maybe not full vacation mode, but
Okay.
but it's definitely about AI handling those repetitive, time-consuming tasks that we all hate.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So we can focus on the bigger picture, strategy innovation.
I like that.
And the article even mentions things like AI-powered monitoring, so these systems can actually analyze all the data, find patterns that we as humans might miss, and even suggest solutions.
Whoa.
Yeah, pretty cool.
That's really cool. But what about coding?
Ah, yeah.
Because the article talks about AI-assisted coding tools, and I'm just imagining, robots taking over all the coding jobs.
Right, yeah. Well, I don't think we're quite there yet, but
Okay.
these tools are definitely going to change the way we code.
Okay.
Think of it more like AI becoming your coding partner, like GitHub Copilot. That's a good example.
I've heard of that.
It can suggest code, it can identify potential bugs, and it can really speed up the whole coding process.
Wow.
But it's not replacing developers, it's elevating them.
Got it.
Because it's freeing them up to focus on the creative problem solving that AI can't do.
So basically, to stay relevant in this future, where AI is helping us with everything we need to learn how to work with these systems.
Exactly. Learn how to use them effectively, understand how they work.
Okay, so no more fearing the robots. We just got to learn how to be friends with them.
Exactly.
All right, so moving on from AI, let's talk about another giant in the DevOps world, and that is Kubernetes.
Kubernetes, yes.
The article suggests that Kubernetes is here to stay, which doesn't surprise me.
Right.
But it's not the Kubernetes we know today, is it?
No, it's evolving.
Yeah.
Think of Kubernetes as like the foundation of the cloud.
Okay.
But that foundation is expanding and it's getting a lot more complex.
So it's not just containers anymore.
No, it's going way beyond just basic container orchestration.
Okay.
We're talking hybrid cloud setups. We're talking Kubernetes-native VMs.
Hold on, Kubernetes-native VMs. Doesn't that seem a little contradictory?
It might sound that way.
Yeah.
But it's about bringing the best of both worlds together.
So we're not choosing between containers and VMs anymore.
No.
We're just using the best tool for the job, all within this unified Kubernetes environment.
Exactly. And to make things even more interesting,
Oh, no.
the article also mentions WebAssembly,
WebAssembly,
or WASM. It's like this lightweight and super portable way to build microservices that can run anywhere.
Oh, wow.
So it's a perfect fit for this evolving Kubernetes ecosystem.
Okay, so we've got hybrid clouds, Kubernetes-native VMs, WebAssembly. It sounds like just knowing Kubernetes isn't going to cut it in 2030.
You got it.
We need to go deeper.
Yeah, you need to understand things like multi-cluster management, the security implications of running VMs within Kubernetes,
Right.
and you really need to master advanced networking in this constantly changing landscape.
Okay, so that's a lot to take in just in the Kubernetes world.
Yeah, just the tip of the iceberg.
But you know what? We're going to take a quick break right here.
All right.
But when we come back, we're going to explore even more game-changing trends like platform engineering and that all-important topic of security, so stay tuned.
Can't wait.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back. All right, so we're continuing our deep dive into the future of DevOps, and I think it's time to talk about platform engineering.
Platform engineering, yeah, that's a term I've heard, but to be honest, I'm not really sure I totally get it. But the article makes it sound like it's a pretty big deal.
It is. It's a major shift. And what's really interesting here is this move towards self-service for developers.
Oh.
So instead of developers having to wait for ops teams to handle every single deployment,
Right.
platform engineering is all about giving developers the tools and the platforms they need to basically do everything themselves.
So they're like independent.
Yeah, exactly. They can be self-sufficient.
So instead of, having to create a ticket and wait for someone else to do it,
Right.
they have their own toolbox to build and deploy applications all on their own.
Exactly. And the article talks about GitOps as being a key part of this whole self-service revolution.
GitOps,
Yeah,
okay.
tools like Argo CD and Flex are really making infrastructure as code the standard.
Infrastructure
So
of
your entire infrastructure can be managed through code that's stored in a Git repository.
Okay, that makes sense. But how does this impact, like, the traditional DevOps workflow? It seems like a pretty big change.
It is a big change, but it's a good change.
Okay, okay.
Because by automating deployments and giving developers all this power, companies can release software way faster and more efficiently.
Got it. So everyone wins.
Everyone wins, and that's where internal developer platforms come in, or IDPs.
IDPs, okay. I think the article mentioned that briefly, but I need a little more context.
Yeah, so think of an IDP as like a one-stop shop for developers.
Okay.
It's a centralized platform that brings together all the tools and services they need to build, test, and deploy their applications, and it makes the whole process just seamless.
So for someone like me who's used to a more traditional setup where deployments involve a lot of manual steps, this sounds like a completely different world. What's the learning curve like for someone who wants to get into this?
Well, the article really stresses the importance of starting to learn GitOps and infrastructure automation now,
Okay.
because these skills are going to be in super high demand as more and more companies move towards this self-service model.
Okay, so GitOps and infrastructure automation added to the to-do list.
Definitely.
Got it. All right. Let's move on and talk about another crucial aspect of the future of DevOps, and that is observability.
Observability, yeah.
And I have to say, when I hear observability, my mind immediately goes to those old school dashboards with like flashing lights and graphs and stuff.
Right. Yeah, those are fun.
Are we still talking about that, or is it something different?
Well, observability is evolving. It's getting a lot more sophisticated.
Okay.
This article is all about AI-powered observability.
AI powered. Okay.
So instead of just those basic dashboards, we're talking about intelligent systems that can actually analyze all the data, identify patterns, and even predict potential issues before they happen.
So it's like having a crystal ball for your systems.
Yeah, exactly.
So instead of waiting for an alert to tell us that something's broken,
Right.
we have systems that are constantly learning and looking for trouble before it even starts.
Yes, it's all about moving from being reactive to being proactive.
I like that.
And the article uses a great analogy. They compare it to like your car's engine.
Okay.
Imagine if your car's engine was constantly being monitored by a system that could predict potential problems before that check engine light even comes on.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
It's all about preventing breakdowns instead of just scrambling to fix them after they happen.
That is a great analogy. And speaking of preventing breakdowns, the article also mentions self-healing systems. Is this where things start to feel a little bit like science fiction?
It might sound futuristic, but self-healing systems are becoming a reality.
Okay.
Imagine infrastructure that can automatically detect and fix issues or even roll back a bad deployment without any human intervention.
Whoa. So it's like the system is a doctor?
Yeah, kind of like it has its own immune system.
So less time firefighting and more time, well, maybe not relaxing by the pool, but definitely more time for strategic thinking and innovation.
Exactly, and that's the real benefit here. By automating all those routine tasks and giving systems the ability to heal yourselves, we as DevOps professionals can focus on the higher level tasks that actually require human ingenuity and creativity.
That's amazing. But how do we actually get there? What skills do we need to develop to thrive in this world of AI-driven observability and self-healing systems? I mean, most of us are still used to manually checking logs and graphs and things like that.
You're right, it is a different mindset, and the article highlights a few key areas to focus on. So first up, OpenTelemetry.
Open telemetry. Yep.
It's becoming the standard for collecting and distributing all that telemetry data. Think of it like the universal language for your monitoring systems.
Okay, got it.
And then there's the rise of AI-powered monitoring tools like Prometheus, which is often combined with machine learning algorithms. And these can analyze huge amounts of data to find patterns that we as humans would never even notice.
So it's about embracing these new technologies and learning how to use them effectively.
Exactly.
But it's not just about the tools, is it?
No, you're absolutely right. It's also about building systems that can actually self-heal. And the article talks about automated rollback strategies as being a really important part of this.
Automated rollback strategies.
Being able to quickly and automatically roll back a bad deployment is critical for minimizing downtime and just making sure everything runs smoothly.
Okay, so OpenTelemetry, AI-powered monitoring, and automated rollback strategies. Got it. But before we move on to the next topic, I have a question that I think is probably on a lot of people's minds.
Okay.
With all this talk about AI taking over tasks and systems healing themselves, does this mean that DevOps engineers are going to be obsolete in the future? Are we all going to be replaced by robots?
That's a great question, and it's one that the article addresses directly. And while it's true that AI and automation are definitely changing the landscape of DevOps,
Right.
it doesn't mean that humans are becoming irrelevant.
Okay, good.
In fact, the opposite is true. These technologies are freeing us up to do what humans do best, which is solve complex problems, think creatively, and innovate.
So it's not about being replaced, it's about evolving our roles and our skill sets.
Exactly. The demand for skilled DevOps professionals is only going to increase, but the nature of those skills is going to shift.
Okay.
We need to become more comfortable working with AI, more adept at understanding really complex systems, and more focused on driving innovation.
That's reassuring. It's not about fearing the future, it's about embracing all the possibilities.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about a topic that's always top of mind, and that is security. The article makes it very clear that in the world of DevOps, security is no longer an afterthought, it's a fundamental requirement.
Absolutely. We can't just bolt on security at the end anymore.
Right.
It has to be baked in from the very beginning.
So it's like security is the main ingredient, not just a garnish.
Exactly. And we're seeing a major push towards DevSecOps, which is all about integrating security into every single stage of the software development lifecycle.
So how does that actually work in practice? What are some of the key trends in DevSecOps that we should be paying attention to?
Well, the article highlights a few important areas. First up, zero trust security models.
Zero trust, okay?
So it's about assuming that no user or device can be trusted by default
Okay.
and verifying every single request.
So instead of having like a wide open door, we're installing multiple layers of security checks to make sure that only authorized users and devices can get access.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and minimizing the risk of any breaches.
Makes sense. What else?
Then there's eBPF,
eBPF.
which is a technology that's really revolutionizing cloud workload security.
Okay.
eBPF lets you monitor and control network traffic at a very granular level, so you have this incredible precision in detecting and preventing attacks.
Okay, eBPF, that's a new one for me. Can you explain it in a way that even I can understand?
Imagine being able to see every single packet of data that flows through your network and having the power to decide what happens to each one.
Wow.
You can block malicious traffic, enforce security policies, and even get really detailed insights into how your applications are behaving.
That sounds incredibly powerful.
It is. It's like having a superpower for network security.
Okay, and with the rise of all these supply chain attacks, I imagine that securing the software supply chain is also becoming increasingly important.
You're absolutely right. The article talks about the need for tools like SigStore and SLSA, which stands for Supply Chain Levels for Software Artifacts.
Okay.
And these tools are designed to guarantee the integrity and authenticity of your container images and all your software dependencies.
So it's not just about securing our own code, it's about making sure that everything we're using to build our applications is safe and trustworthy as well.
Exactly. Supply chain attacks are getting more and more sophisticated.
Right.
And we have to be really vigilant about every single component that goes into our software.
So zero trust security models, eBPF, and supply chain security tools like SigStore and SLSA, sounds like there's a lot to learn in the world of DevSecOps.
There is, but it's essential knowledge for any DevOps professional in 2030.
Okay, noted.
The article really emphasizes that having strong security skills is going to be a major advantage, if not a requirement for anyone working in this field.
All right, security skills added to the list now. Before we move on, I want to address something that I'm sure is on a lot of people's minds.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about AI automation, all these advanced technologies, and it's a lot to take in.
It is.
And I imagine some people might be feeling a bit overwhelmed.
Yeah, I understand it can be a little daunting to keep up with the rapid pace of change in technology.
Exactly. So for those who are feeling a bit intimidated, what advice would you give them?
First of all, don't panic.
Okay,
You don't have to become an expert in everything overnight.
right.
Focus on building a solid foundation in the core principles of DevOps, things like automation, infrastructure as code, and collaboration.
Okay, good advice. So focus on the fundamentals and then gradually expand your knowledge as needed.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment. Learn by do. There are so many resources available, online tutorials, open source projects, online communities, where you can connect with other DevOps professionals and learn from their experiences.
All right, so start with the basics, experiment, and don't be afraid to ask for help that sounds manageable.
Is.
Now let's talk about another important aspect of the future of DevOps, and that is programming languages.
Ah, yes.
I know some people think you need to be like a coding whiz to work in DevOps, but is that really true?
Not necessarily, while having some coding skills is definitely helpful. It's not the only thing that matters.
Right.
The article really emphasizes that scripting and automation skills are essential, though.
Okay, so what are the key programming languages that every DevOps professional should have on their radar?
Well, the article highlights three in particular: Python, Golang, and Rust.
Okay, Let's break those down. What makes each of these languages so important for DevOps?
Sure. So Python is known for its versatility. It's widely used in DevOps for everything from automating tasks to building custom tools. It's a great language to learn if you're new to coding.
Python got it. What about Golang?
Golang, often just called Go, is known for its speed efficiency and concurrency.
Okay.
And these features make it really ideal for building cloud-native applications and tools. In fact, a lot of the tools that we use in the Kubernetes ecosystem are written in Go.
Interesting. So if someone wants to dive deeper into that whole world of Kubernetes learning Go, would be a good move.
Absolutely. And then there's Rust.
Well,
It's a language that's gaining a lot of traction in the DevOps world.
Rust, I have to admit, that's one I'm not super familiar with. What's so special about Rust?
Well, Rust is designed with a focus on safety, security, and performance.
Okay.
It's all about preventing those common programming errors that can lead to security vulnerabilities, which is obviously really crucial when you're building critical systems.
Right.
And we're seeing Rust being used more and more in infrastructure networking, even web development.
So it's a language for building really robust and secure systems.
Exactly. And even if you don't become a Rust expert, just having a basic understanding of it is going to be valuable as its popularity continues to grow in the DevOps world.
Okay, so Python for its versatility, Go for its role in Kubernetes and cloud-native development, and Rust for its focus on security and performance. That sounds like a good mix, but do we really need to master all three?
Not necessarily. The article emphasizes that it's more important to understand the concepts of scripting and automation than to be a master of any specific language. So choose one that interests you, build a solid foundation, and explore the others as needed.
Okay, great advice. Now, we've covered a lot of ground, but there's one more big trend we need to discuss, and that is the cloud.
The cloud, yes.
It feels like it's always evolving, and this article suggests that it's about to get even more complex.
You're right. The cloud landscape is definitely shifting. We're moving beyond just choosing between AWS or Azure.
Right.
The future is hybrid and multi-cloud, where workloads are spread across multiple environments.
So we're talking about a world where companies aren't just relying on one cloud provider. They're picking and choosing the best fit for each workload.
Exactly. It's about flexibility, resilience, and avoiding vendor lock-in.
So what does this mean for us as DevOps professionals? What skills do we need to develop to navigate this multi-cloud world?
Well, first and foremost, it's no longer enough to just be an expert in one cloud platform.
Right.
You need a broad understanding of all the major players, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and how they differ.
So it's like being a cloud polyglot.
Exactly. You need to be able to speak the language of each cloud platform, but it's not just about the platforms themselves.
Okay.
The article also highlights the importance of service meshes like Istio and Linkerd.
Service meshes, okay.
And these tools are crucial for managing the complex networking demands of multi-cloud deployments. They allow you to connect secure and monitor communication between services across different cloud platforms.
Service meshes, got it. Anything else?
One more thing, FinOps.
FinOps.
As the cloud environments become more complex, managing costs becomes critical.
Right.
And FinOps is all about optimizing cloud spending and making sure you're getting the most value for your money.
So it's not just about deploying and managing applications. It's also about being a savvy cloud economist.
Exactly. You need to understand cloud pricing, track spending, and optimize workloads to minimize costs.
Okay, multi-cloud expertise, service meshes, and FinOps, a lot to add to the DevOps toolkit. But as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I have to ask, with all these changes happening so quickly, where do we even begin? It's a lot to process.
You're absolutely right. It can feel overwhelming, but remember, we don't have to become experts in everything overnight. The key is to stay curious, keep learning, and be adaptable.
Excellent advice. So what specific areas will you be focusing on to make sure you're ahead of the curve in 2030? And more importantly, what about our listeners? What should they be thinking about as they navigate this exciting and perhaps slightly daunting future of DevOps? We'll be right back after a short break. And we are back, all right, wrapping up our deep dive into the future of DevOps.
It's a lot.
I know, right? I'm feeling like super energized, but also like a little bit overwhelmed by all this amazing stuff that's coming our way.
Yeah, it's a lot to process.
It is, but that's what makes DevOps so exciting. It's always evolving.
Yeah, you gotta love that about this field. There's never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. Okay, so this article that we've been talking about,
Yes.
it really paints a clear picture of DevOps in 2030. It's going to be a totally different landscape.
Different world.
But instead of being intimidated, I think we should be excited.
Oh, yeah,
It's
definitely.
a chance for us to learn new skills, really push the boundaries, and actually shape the future of technology.
Absolutely. I love that. And it actually makes me think of a question for you, the listener.
Ooh, good one.
What's resonating with you the most from all these trends we've talked about? What skill or area are you most excited to explore as you navigate this future of DevOps?
Yeah, that's a great question. And while you're thinking about that, I want to leave you with one final thought. Yes, the tech is evolving crazy fast,
For sure.
but so are the opportunities.
That's the key takeaway.
Exactly. By diving into these changes, by learning and adapting, you're not just future-proofing your career,
Nope.
you're positioning yourself to be a leader in this field.
A leader, absolutely the future of DevOps. It's full of potential, and it belongs to those who are bold enough to seize it.
Couldn't have said it better myself, and on that note, we are signing off until next time. Keep learning, keep experimenting, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in this amazing world of DevOps.
See you next time.